say that um, for me, um, the the period of my life, which is known as sort of like my ongoing battle with lymphedema,
Mm,
um,
yeah.
was probably one of the biggest wake up calls ever. Um,
Mm.
I'm kind of well, okay. You're black, so you might understand this, but you're also a doctor, so you might not understand this. But
Hey, listen.
most black people, um, even on death's doorbed, I remember a few times like where my dad had a few heart attacks, and it was
Mm.
sort of like, all right, I'll just take some bear. I ain't going to the hospital, that sort of thing. He'd have like, ooh, I gotta sit down. Maybe I got gas or something. Like, you gotta go to the hospital? No, 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 no. And then like it'll happen again. And then maybe like 4 weeks from now, it's like, you should probably go to the hospital, Dad. And then they're like,
You had a heart
oh my
attack.
God, this you did a heart attack.
Right,
That sort of
right.
thing. Same with us, man. The long story short of it is sorry.
Sorry.
I live with cats now. The long short of it is August of 1998.
Mm.
Um, I we had just finished recording our fourth album, Things Fall Apart, and like we were in the final stages of it.
Okay.
And the only reason why I remember this so well is it's whatever the week that Lauryn Hill's Miseducation of Lauryn Hill came out.
Mm.
So back then, records used to come out on a Tuesday. And we had just finished like our album, and kind of as like a celebration ritual after living like a hermit for like a year and a half, like just only doing the studio, nothing else, and day and night, studio, studio, studio. Um, Me and one of the members of the group decided, okay, we're going to go to Great Adventure, Six Flags.
Okay.
And so that Friday night, we planned it. All right, man, we're going to try to get up 6 in the
In
morning.
Jersey, Jackson.
Yeah.
Jackson. Okay.
Yeah, just all excited. We're going to go to Great Adventure, have fun. Da, 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 da. The album's done, the album's finished. Let's celebrate. And that's my version of celebrate. I'm certain that, most other people like either go to Cabo or go to a strip club. But, my thing was like, Great Adventure.
Right.
And I woke up the next day. The only way I can describe it is if you remember Tom Hanks's movie Big,
Mm-hmm.
the morning he woke up and that 12-year-old kid turned into a 32-year-old Tom Hanks. And he was like looking in the mirror, like, what the hell happened to me? Like, I woke up one day and it was like I was the Incredible Hulk. Like, I looked at my feet and I was like, whoa, where'd this come from?
Right. Wow.
And I thought it was like a dream. Like, my feet were like, at that time, like right below from my knees to my ankles, maybe, I was a big guy, but
Always.
I was in proportion. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, but I looked at my ankles and I was like, yo, like, what the hell happened to, like, this was overnight. And then I was like, wait a minute. So then, like I put a pair of pants on, and then like the left leg had a hard time going through the thing. And I'm like, wait a minute. I wore these pants last night and I knew it was normal. What the hell just happened to me?
Wow.
Like, it's one of those things where it's like, oh my God, what happened? And uh, I thought, well, okay, let me sit upside down for like 20 minutes and see what happens. And it was still there. And I was like, let me run down to the kitchen and get some ice. So I got like some peas and anything out the fridge that was freezing, put them on my feet. Like, maybe that'll go down. And it wasn't going anywhere. And
now, was it just the foot or the leg as well?
it was the ankle. It was like,
okay.
it was like right below the calf. At the time, the right ankle. And then I ran to my sneaker collection because in my mind, I was still in denial. Like, no, there's no way. Like, I know what my feet felt like. So let me run and get my Nikes and put them. And I couldn't put my shoes on. And I was like, what the hell is happening to me?
Wow.
And so then I was like, what do I do? And then my quick Band-Aid fix was, well, I ran to first thing I did was like I, you know, uh, hopped in. I didn't drive in. Hopped in a cab, ran to the Big and Tall store to now go up like 4 sizes than what I normally was to get pants that fit and sneakers that fit. And I was like, wait, is this a dream? Like I know I could fit everything in my closet yesterday, and
Mm.
now overnight this is happening to me. Like there's a big difference between like when you think you're gaining weight and like, oh, these pants don't fit anymore, and then you wake up and then you see an additional 12 pounds has been added to your body and you don't know what to
Right.
do about it.
Literally overnight.
Yeah, so um I got through that day, but I didn't know what to do. And it was like it was a weird sense of I don't know what happened. Like it literally uh started the beginning of a very slow phase of shame that I
Mm.
went through.
Okay.
And, again, black people, I won't generalize and say black people, but I'll just say that the household I grew up in, um, you know, uh, the I never once thought go to the hospital right now.
Mm.
Like you only go to the hospital if you're about to die. Like, this is
Right.
this is a guy who has great teeth. This is a guy who until the Tonight Show, like maybe my last visit to the dentist was like maybe 37 years ago.
Wow.
Now, of
Yeah.
course, I go regularly. And so anyway, my whole thing was just like, okay, let me just let me
Kind of
hide this.
pretend that it's
Yeah,
not there, or
right.
okay.
And that's just 1998 and 99, man, was such it was such secrets will always kill you, no matter what secret you're holding.
That's right.
Secrets will always kill you.
That's right.
And so just to uh, keep that in, because I didn't want to tell anybody. I didn't want to show nobody because I mean, by this point, by the week, then it just started going into like Michelin Man. If you
Wow.
don't know the reference, just Google.
Yeah. Google. Yeah.
Yeah, like my legs were looking like the Michelin Man. And, for me, the most important thing was to hide it. And
Mm.
so just the levels of what I would do to suppress it, just, okay, well, I'll buy all black, stop wearing shorts, buy all black clothes, make sure no one sees below my knees,
Mm-hmm.
Stay behind the drum set. Don't like, even if I'm like sitting in a couch area or the reception area with the rest of the band and any shots of my ankle, like I always made sure like the chair was proportioned so that you never see my feet or any of those things. And then that was cool for maybe like 5 months. And then my body decided to turn it up another level to see if I would heed the call to like, okay, something's wrong here.
Right.
And then I started leaking. And
Wow.
the levels of
Through the skin.
Through the skin. So
Yeah,
what would
yeah,
happen,
yeah.
during this time point, during this period, the roots had always been road dogs. Like ever since we started in 87 as a band in high school, we took it way serious in 92, sort of like the incarnation that you now know as the Roots. Really 92, even though we started in 87 in high school, we just like messed around and did talent shows, but not like real gigs and stuff like that. So, but since 92, like we've been, we decided that we're going to just live on the road, which means that, the average band would just carve out maybe 3 to 4 months to travel and do shows. You do America, you do Europe, South America, other parts, Asia, Africa, if you're that big or whatever. But we just decided like, nope, 10 years, 10 months out the year, always
Yeah.
living more on a tour bus in a hotel than you do at home. So by this point, and that's when we weren't successful. That's when we were like struggling just to get a foot in the door. Right.
Yeah.
So by this point, this is when like suddenly the Roots are like an actual thing and we're touring and all those things. Mostly, and our album just came out. So like by this point, March or April, we're up every morning at 3 a.m. In the hotel lobby by 5, on a plane for 3 to 4 hours, depending, because, some nights, like the week the album came out, we hit 10 cities in maybe 6 days.
Ooh. Wow.
Do an in-store in
Wow.
Jersey one morning, fly to Virginia to do an afternoon signing at Tower Records, and then maybe fly to Florida, to Miami, to do a show that night at 10 p.m., but then fly to San Diego to do some like college at 8 a.m. for the students there, and then drive to a record store 4 hours away. Like it was constantly 10 months out the year, somewhere between 16 to 20 hours every day. And
Wow.
being in the air, especially with, the way that air pressure works.
Correct.
Sometimes your ears closes, whatever, but that's when, the only way I can describe it is if you fill a water balloon up and then you just slightly poke it, like it won't explode. Like sometimes it won't explode like normal balloons do when you put a needle in it. It'll just leak.
Mm-hmm.
And so then that game started happening for the next 3 years. Like,
wow, leaking.
Yeah. Like get in a plane, pray to God that the air pressure is cool. 45 minutes later, you hear the denim of like your left leg.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at the floor, and then you look at your leg imprint. You see that, okay, it's starting to leak. And if it's longer than 4 hours, God help you, because there was one point where
now you flying commercial or private?
I was flying commercial.
Okay.
So then there comes the thing where like there will be kind of like a slight puddle on the ground.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And an unexplainable puddle.
Right. Did you pee on yourself?
To your neighbor, right. To your neighbor, to da-da-da-da. So now it's like, okay, Ahmir, do you go to the hospital and get help, or do you still continue this charade of trying to hide it? And of course, I ain't going to the hospital. Let me try to hide this shit. So then, you you make sure that you're on the plane first. So you can grab the blankets first so that you can cover your legs in case leakage happens.
Uh-huh.
Then I had to take it up an extra notch and, go to Hudson News, buy like extra Evian water. This is how bad it got. Like, wow. I would buy prop Evian water and
pretend spill it.
And pretend that I spilled it.
Wow.
Damn, I spilled it.
Wow.
Just so I wouldn't have to explain like what this water puddle is doing, like dripping from my chair area in first class. And, it's just to live like that, man. And because the thing is, like, night after night, I look like, what the hell? It's like the Elephant Man. Like, what the fuck is happening to me? So, just imagine like the conflict of living a duplicitous life where you're Superman
mm-hmm.
to a whole bunch of people,
mm-hmm.
but you
got this
you're
thing
Clark
you're
Kent, right? It's like you're Clark Kent and you're Superman at the same time. So you're dealing with, this is the first time I'm dealing with the sentence, Questlove, you changed my life. Oh my God, this is the greatest thing, and you're my hero. And then to go home at night and you pray to God that and this messes up every area of your life.
Of course,
with intimacy, with dating, with all that things. Because now it's like, what should I do?
Why are you keeping your pants on, Questlove? What's going on?
Dude, and going.
Why are you keeping your shoes on? What's going on?
Getting people to get water pills for me. Because then I thought, okay, if I get water pills, that'll get rid of whatever is right. And that would work that was like a slight Band-Aid over a bullet wound. So like
Works a little bit.
water pills would ensure that in the morning it would look kind of normal for maybe like 3 hours. And then the eventual sandglassing. So now I'm living a Cinderella thing where I'm timing it. So to know that, okay, by 7 p.m., you know, like I'm gonna go from Buddy Love to whatever the professor was and
Right.
back to the W.
Professor
Right.
Clump? No.
Right. So
Yeah,
like all
yeah,
my dates
yeah.
would be like afternoon. Hey babe, let's do lunch. And then, like looking at my leg like, okay, what, you know, because 7 p.m. this thing's gonna like blow up and then suddenly you can't fit this. And God forbid if I have on like a Levi jean that has a small calf in it.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm watching out for that too, like to see like what the condition of my leg looks like. Like, does it look normal? And people are like, wait, do you have leggings on? Like, those are interesting jeans. I've never seen those before because it's like, you know, it's like baggy up here, but like tight. It's baggy above the knee, but
tight below. Yeah.
Yeah, and so then the jig was up. The jig was up when we shot our video to The Next Movement. For 1 second, I dropped my guard. I felt slight leakage in the pants I was wearing, and I was like, okay, let me run and change real quick into a backup pair of pants. Again, still hide in plain sight. Make sure the wardrobe person gets me 2 of every outfit. Why do you want 2 of every outfit? You can keep this one. Just give me 2. No, don't ask me no questions. And I didn't notice, but I found like a corner to change in real quick. So I thought, and I didn't realize that my manager was there. And all I heard was, "Oh my fucking God, what the fuck happened to you?" And I jumped.
Wow.
And I couldn't hide anymore. Like he's looking at me and he's just like, "Dude, what happened to your leg?
Like, what are you doing?"
Yeah. And
Is this Richard Nichols?
Richard Nichols, right?
Yeah.
The jig was up and he instantly, like we were.
Wow.
I said, look, let me just use this. We were like on the last scene and I thought I was going to hang out with somebody in LA, you know, with dry clothes on. But he's like, no, you're going to Mount Cedar Sinai right now.
Yeah.
And at the time, they didn't know what to make of it.
Well, yeah, because it had been now like probably 5 years, right? Since that initial.
By this point, it was like mid 1999. So this is like almost short a year later.
Okay. So it wasn't that long. Okay.
I'd never heard the term lymphedema until, you know, like maybe by 2003, I heard of it.
Okay.
Because the thing is that
were they calling it elephantiasis? Or they weren't calling it anything?
They didn't have a title for anything.
Interesting.
And I explained that, you know, like one day I just woke up and it was like I was handed a prison sentence and no one told me about it. And I don't know what to do. Like, you know, so naturally they thought like, okay, well, it's the weight loss, you know, it's the weight, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, so I just struggle with it. So, you know, disclosure, in 2001, I did gastric.
Okay.
And, you know, the thing that really made it, that made that problematic was that, you know, I was losing weight everywhere except below the knee.
Yeah.
So now it's like,
because it's a fluid problem. It's not a fat problem.
Right. And so the thing is that I would, what do you call it? You know, at my smallest, I got down to like size 40.
Okay.
But, you know, below the knee, I kind of have to be a 48. And then people were like joking with me, like, Ahmir, why are you wearing all these baggy ass clothes? Like, you know, and I still can't explain to them. Because one, I don't know what to call it. Because, you know, I'm just thinking like, is this a weight thing, a fat thing, a da-da thing? Like, I don't know what's going on. And eventually, I believe a receptionist at a studio we were at told me that she had the same thing on her arm. She started using the C word a lot. Like, I was dealing with breast cancer. I had swelling on the arms, and she Googled something, and she showed me like various legs that looked like mine. And that's when I read the word lymphedema. And I was like, dude, I've been looking for whatever this thing is called that I don't know what it is. And, she said, well, lucky for you, you're from Pennsylvania, you're from Philadelphia. And the number one specialist of this treatment is at University of Penn, at Penn Hospital. And I was like, great, I was born in Penn Hospital, so this shouldn't be a problem. I went there, and for that entire summer, like between like 2003, 2005, man, it was a trying thing because what I would have to do was basically take 4 hours out of my day every day, show up at this clinic at like maybe 7 in the morning.
Where were you living at the time?
I was living in Philadelphia.
You live in Philly, okay.
Northern Liberties. And they would do this process where they would delicately wrap your entire leg like a mummy. So they'd start at the pinky toe. Yep. So imagine taking like that white adhesive tape and wrapping your pinky toe, and then wrapping your pinky toe in your other toe, and then wrapping your pinky toe, your other toe, and the third toe, and then your pinky toe, and then the fourth toe, and then the fifth toe, and then wrapping.
Tight.
Right.
Yep.
And then going to your ankle. So it's like a 4-hour process for them to start at the pinky toe and wrap all the way up to my knee every day.
Yeah.
And then it's like, do I have to hire a full-time nurse to be with me 24/7 when I go on tour, and blah, 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 and da-da-da, and da-da-da. And
so the swelling was clearly, it would go down, right, with that.
It would slightly go down. Right. But it was like, was it worth it? What wound up happening was, I think by like mid-2006, I just got tired. Mm-hmm. Because then there's also another component, and that component is that, I did the physical work to lose the weight, to eat right, to exercise and all those things. And instantly, like, my world entirely changed. And by that, I mean like how people treat you. So
what do you mean?
Well, I mean, the thing is that, even as me, as Questlove or whatever, I mean, yes, there was respect and all that stuff and all those things, like, okay, yeah, I'm a quasi celebrity or whatever. But once the weight eliminated, then there was another level, there was another chamber I never knew about. Like suddenly girls are like, well, can we come up to your room and
Right. Interesting.
And I was like, wait, but here's the weird shit about it. I started getting angry.
Interesting. Well, I was like, no, how come you didn't like me before?
Right.
Yeah.
And name like any actress of that time period. Like, oh, okay, word. So now
interesting.
I can take you out on a date. But, back in 2001, you weren't, when I met you at the da-da-da premiere, you was like, I don't know, whatever. So then like I started getting, I didn't do the mental work that I should have done. I didn't do the mental work that I'm doing right now that COVID made me do last year.
Yeah.
So back in 2004, 2005, 2006, I didn't do that work and I started getting angrier. So between this new chip on shoulder, oh, why are you being nice to me? Oh, all of a sudden I'm cute now because you didn't, like, it wasn't a reaction of like, oh, word. So word, you feeling me? All right, let's go. Like, then I just became like belligerent. Or like, oh, why are you really here? Huh? Word.
You would talk like that to him?
Oh, I was the worst. I was the rudest person ever, yo. I was bitter because my thing was like,
no, I get it. I felt the same way when I graduated from med school. Same thing. I get it.
Oh, so, now that you're doctor,
it's like, oh,
hey,
yeah, exactly. No, I totally feel you.
I've heard many a hey between like 2016. Yes.
Or like you talking to me at a party and you don't know what I do, and then you kind of like whatever, but
then you put two and two together,
out, and then hey, and I'm like,
right.
Come on, man, get out of here with that. Anyway, I get it.
So yeah, between that happening and just the tiresome, the very exhausting game of suppressing this affliction that I'm forced to live with.
Yeah.
And, like having to getting up in the morning, rapping, all right, babe, you got to go. It's 5 in the morning. Hey,
I don't know what to tell you.
Right. I got tired of hiding, man. So unfortunately, my choice was, man, I liked it better when I was fat. So I actually
that's deep.
I made a conscious decision to like put the weight back on.
Yeah.
Because I thought, well, at least with the top half of me balanced to the bottom half of me, like I'd rather people just think I was fat than I have some sort of unpronounceable disease or affliction. It's the same thing. It's weird. It's weird. I've been going over the Michael Jackson transcripts. There's a documentary that they're working on right now about the whole post 1993 Michael Jackson situation, which kind of points to his innocence. But there's one thing that when he was he discovered the vertigo after the Pepsi fire.
Yeah.
So when he got those 3rd-degree burns, and they were trying to differentiate the difference between the 3rd-degree burn and what's this thing on your back. He's been dealing with some form of lupus since like 1977 and never dealt with it. And once it was first presented to him that you're kind of in the early stages of that, I wouldn't do this tour if we were you. Like, you need to take a year out to do this, his decision to not do that was based on, again, Black people's relationship with science and medicine and all things medical. I'm sure now today, like even you're somewhat frustrated by like these like Hotep Facebook takes on, fuck that, man. I don't believe in science and they trying to get us. And, and I understand that the genesis of that is based on our experience here, in this country hundreds of years ago with how gynecologists treated Black women and did operation. This is not the Tuskegee experiment that we're living through. So, Michael's decision to not announce that was kind of more based on like, you remember like our relationship with AIDS in the early 80s?
Yeah, it's like
how bad Eddie Murphy was. Yeah. And we'd say, oh, I don't want the AIDS and, that sort of thing. Yeah. For him, it was like, that was admitting that something was wrong with him, like that sort of thing. So he'd rather just hide it. And it's like, dude, if you just admit it, like, okay, yes, even your beloved hero has, one, he could have helped people and brought attention to a situation.
Right.
But what we now know of what became of his life, post 85 to his death is just what I was doing. Like him trying to hide and conceal and hide, well, let me balance out the rest of my skin to look like this so that it doesn't look like that. But now look like I'd rather, for me, it was like, I'd rather people just think I'm fat and unattractive than to ever admit that
you had a problem.
I had lymphedema.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't until 2018 that not only did I really deal with it, because in 2018, I also discovered that a lot of afflictions that we have, a lot of that stuff is emotionally based, So then,
correct. The mind-body connection is strong.
Exactly.
It's like something like 85 to 90% of disease is actually psychologically based. Not that the body doesn't have real reactions.
No, it has real reactions, but the genesis of it is how your brain.
I see it when I work with clients all the time.
Yep. Right. And so with me, I think just my fight or flight solutions were basically to hide in plain sight and just show no emotion, hide, similar to like me hiding once I had lymphedema, like make sure I'm sitting in this position so no one sees my legs and da-da-da. That was me for life. Like I didn't want to I lived in a neighborhood with a lot of bullies. Mm-hmm. So the worst thing my dad could ever say to me was like, go to the store and get some bread. And now I got to sort of map out CSI style, like some Vietnam chart on if I take Addison Street, like I never go directly to the store. You got to go the scenic route. Like, okay, if I go by a old lady's she's on the porch, then they won't bother me. And then I'll go all the way 3 blocks over to Spruce and then make a left and then go to the store and then walk 7 blocks. Like that was my life. Like just, and I'm certain that a lot of that has contributed to, this kind of fight or flight protection mode that your brain instantly does to your body to protect you.
Yeah.
And in my case, it overdid it. It's like, like a mummy, like a protective wrap, except I did mine probably 47 million times over and had to sort of deal with this. So as of like really a year ago, when the world stopped, that's when I finally had to stop.
Because even us, like, I'm obviously doing this podcast, but also part of your team. We made recommendations to you. I've been working with you at least 4 years, at least 2 to 3 years ago. We like make consistent recommendations, and you say, okay, yeah, all right.
Yeah, and you have to. Sometimes you have to. I know that the saying's always like you have to reach your lowest point. I wish it wasn't like that a lot. Like you have to reach your lowest point. I'm glad I didn't get to. I'm seeing people now getting to their lowest point. I heeded the call, maybe 4 steps away from the lowest point. Yeah, okay. So I was fortunate enough to really. To really truly understand that you gotta, oftentimes like if your parents tell you to clean the room, your version of clean the room is just throw everything in the closet,
close the
under the bed.
Yep.
And hey, the room does look clean, but under your bed is like, the Philadelphia Experiment or Chud.
Right.
Like, and this is me having to do a deep cleaning and totally empty out the room and do the floors and, come back to a new me.
Well, it comes down, Ahmir, to basically accepting how you feel, right? That's the basics of it. Mm-hmm. Because even I feel like when you had the quote mistake, when your manager saw you changing in that moment, that wasn't a mistake, right? That was probably
that saved my life.
Yeah, that was probably a part of you that really wanted this thing to come out, right? Because as careful as you are, as intelligent as you are, you know where the hell to go to change, right?
Right.
And so, I think it all comes back to, the image, trying to protect the image and really needing to connect to yourself, connect to, what, deep down inside, I really know there's something going on, but I'm just going to push it all the way, push it all the way, push it all the way.
Right.
And so that's important. It sounds like, and I know because I've seen the work, you've gotten to that point. With some help, you've gotten to that point.
Yeah, I've studied how smart our brain is. Especially, the other parts the other parts of our brain that we have no control over.
Right, the unconscious.
The alpha, the beta, the theta, the data. Yep. I forget the 5th part. I'm certain that a lot of that also had to deal with maybe perhaps there was a psychological fear of success. Right now, I'm really obsessed with, I'm about to work on a film. Okay. I accepted my second film I'm about to do the life of Sly Stone. And a lot of people really don't know the intricacies of what Sly Stone's life was. But at the time when I was cutting my Summer of Soul documentary, of which Sly is in, part of the narrative of the Sly contribution to that film was that his performance. Okay, so for your listeners that need context, I've been fortunate enough to be given my directorial debut, which is basically, in the shortest sense of it, even though I hate calling it this, just for time, I'll make it quick. They call it Black Woodstock. In 1969, the Black equivalent of the Woodstock Festival happened 2 weeks before actual Woodstock.
In Harlem. Yeah,
in Harlem for over 300,000 people the summer of 1969. And, it was documented and filmed just like its counterpart in Woodstock. And the story is basically that, when the film Woodstock came out, then all those acts became like household words, like they were all world famous. And Woodstock wound up defining a generation. Like, Woodstock's just a town, but suddenly it's a way of life. It when you say Woodstock, you instantly think of like, hippies and peace and love and da-da-da-da.
LSD.
Right. Well, all those things. And the thing is that kind of in the ongoing story of Black erasure, they tried to sell the Black version of this film, and nobody was interested. And they were like, but it's like the Black Woodstock, and it's Stevie Wonder, and it's Sly and the Family Stone, and Nina Simone, and the Staple Singers, and B.B. King, and all these great luminaries, Hugh Masekela, Marco Santa Maria, like all these greats. And they were still like, nope. And in desperation, Hail Mary attempt, they were like, but it's Black Woodstock. And they were like, we'll pass. So it sat in the basement for 50 years. I get this film, finally. Greenlit it.
How did you get it? You knew about it? You knew that you had known? Somebody presented it to you?
I didn't know about it. I'll say that my two producers, I'll be honest with you, because of the level, well, you know me well, but for those that don't know, my level of pop culture collecting is sort of like, have you ever seen The 40-Year-Old Virgin? The way that his house had like all the Star Wars, like big action. Yeah, that's me with like any soul artifacts. Like, Boots Eaters Rubber Band, Lunchbox, $500? Yeah, I'll get that. Old Parliament Funkadelic concert tickets. Yeah, I'll take that too. Like, I'm that guy. I'm a pop culture hoarder. And so oftentimes different collectors will hit me up. And I just thought that these two were two guys trying to flex on me about some mythical alleged concert that 300,000 people saw that I just Googled and I didn't see one article about it.
Wow.
So you're trying to tell me Stevie Wonder, Sly and the Family Stone, and like 18 other acts of the day were in Harlem giving a concert, and it's just like Woodstock, and it was recorded, and not one person can talk about it, like no one. Right. So I thought they were just trying to game me up for some Tonight Show tickets. We were the hottest game in town, and like I don't know if y'all I can get y'all in, but they're like, yeah, we want to show you this footage, so let's come to the show. And I'm like, all right, y'all trying to gas, whatever. Okay, just take the tickets. You don't have to lie about it. And so, of course, they come with the footage. And I got humbled real quick. And I was like, what the hell is this? And how come no one knows about it? And then instantly, and this ties back to the narrative that I told you earlier. In an instant, I got scared.
Yeah.
And was
no, never mind.
Yeah. I was like, why? I got defensive.
Yep.
A word? Why you want to date me now, huh?
Right.
Because I'm cute?
Right.
And then I thought like, why would you naive people give a first time, I just got my permit. And you're asking me to drive this 18-wheeler truck? Mm-hmm. Why? I'm not a director. I produce. Like, let me be the mascot. Get a real director. And I tried to duck and hide and duck and hide. And they kept knocking.
Kept calling.
You're the person to do the story. I'm like, dude, go to Spike Lee. They're like, Spike Lee got 3 movies after this. He ain't doing it. Well, Ava DuVernay. Nope. He got Malcolm Lee, Spike's cousin. Like, I named every black director I could think of. And they were like, no, dude, we're coming to you because 1, you've written 4 books already. So we know you know how to tell a story. And, you're just a natural storyteller. Like, why wouldn't you jump? If there's any chance for you to jump in the movies, this is the perfect entry for you. And I was like, well, okay, maybe.
Fine, I'll do it. Have you read The Upper Limit Problem by Gay Hendricks?
No, I know Gay Hendricks' name, but no, I never.
All right, I'll send you the link. It's a great book. It's a small read, but it's exactly what you're talking about. That we create these artificial boundaries for ourselves.
Right.
We create these artificial boundaries for ourselves, and then because we start touching it, then we do something to sabotage it.
All the time,
automatically.
So the weird thing is that I know I'm very familiar with self-sabotaging.
Yes.
Only because, it's always easy for a person to see when other people have it, but they can't. I forget the biblical term. Like you can't see the board in your eye, but you see the speck of dust on someone else's shoulder, that sort of thing. I famously have said that, I've always been the kind of in the passenger seat next to some of the greatest artists of all time, but they all have like one thing in common. Like this artist always takes, 10 years to finish their record, and this artist always constantly shows up late to their shows.
Lauryn Hill.
I ain't saying names. I ain't saying that they stopped talking to me for 5 years and just recently started talking to me a year ago. I didn't say none of those things. No, but there's a common, like, I think with most artists, there's that level of greatness, but then there's also another thing of just absolute questionable. And it's not even like artists, like anyone that you see that gets arrested multiple times.
Yeah.
Anyone that you see
overdose. I mean, DMX is a perfect.
Dude,
perfect
I was going to say, like, there's other vices that you can choose, like, there's
women,
food,
drugs,
all those things.
Yeah.
And in the case of Sly Stone, he does this festival unannounced, sort of as a rehearsal for what will eventually be the Woodstock Festival a week later. So he's just doing kind of a rehearsal for the Woodstock show. And the Woodstock show is going to change his life. Mm-hmm. He's been struggling all of the 60s to get a foot in the door. He's been making music since 1960. And he's one of the most brilliant musicians, songwriters, whatever. He's from the Bay Area. So that whole counterculture thing, like he has one foot in San Francisco with all the hippies, and then one foot in the Oakland with all the Panthers and all that. So he's a product of the epicenter of counterculture and revolution and change that will spread across the world. Like one foot's in Black Power and the other foot is in Tune In and Tune Out, man, and Peace and Love. So that sort of thing. And just his whole presentation, like, for those people at Harlem, he looked like an alien. They'd never seen a group not wear tuxedos on stage. They'd never seen women playing instruments. They never, like, this is a black band and you got a white drummer. They never seen an intersectional. Everything about him was new. And the thing is that he was literally the living manifestation of whatever Martin Luther King, this utopian, Benetton ad, I know it's an old reference, for Martin Luther King's dream speech, like where black and white and men and women and cousins and friends get together, and like that's what that group represented. And so when he does Woodstock, and it changes his life, and he becomes a household name. Of course, his boss at Sony, Clive Davis, is like, dude, the next record you deliver, oh my God, you're going to be God. Now, mind you, this is 1969. So this is sort of like the first of its kind. Now it's no big deal. Back in 2006, a 24-year-old Drake can be told by an A&R, yo, man, you're going to be the biggest thing. Watch, you're going to be the biggest star in the future. I can feel it. And Drake can accept it. But, like back in 1969, where previously, not even previously, maybe last month, someone's trying to lynch you because you're black or whatever, like to live in the 60s and experience that level of terrorism that black people going through, like that must be, part of my French, a mind fuck, especially if you're successful and you get to make it, like you're chosen to make it, but
guilt.
Yeah, the guilt of it all. And so, all Sly has to do, all he has to do is to simply take the ball, lay it up in the court, and win the championship. And there's 5 seconds left in the game. No one's blocking him. And he's running to the court and he jumps and man, he just spikes that ball out the stadium. And that's always been my number one obsession. Like, what happened in 1970 that made you just like, that's the first true example of like artistic sabotage. That I saw. And the difference between like his version of it and say maybe Billie Holiday's version, where you could just say like, oh, well, it was drugs and da-da-da-da, and she was a tragic artist. But this is someone that actually had like, hey, we're going to give you the keys to freedom, and he destroys it. And I've always been, and ever since then, there's been a series of artists from that period, from 1969 to 50 years later, that have sabotaged their stuff. And I've always truly wanted to unearth. So this is more about, this is, I'm trying to Trojan horse it, where I'm trying to explore less about like Sly and the Family Stone's achievements and really get to the heart of the matter of, why do artists always self-sabotage?
Yeah, no, that's great.
And so,
yeah, it's important. I mean, it's artists, but it's also, they're people, right? And it's a problem that people have, that we get to a certain level in our head that we can't go over. And then we just put all kind of roadblocks and things in our own way.